So the next time you're on the blower to your second cousin twice removed in Wisconsin, just remember that today's global communication literally hangs by a thread.
In order to keep us in everything from Brazil nuts to rubber ducks, huge container vessels have to buzz around the ocean at a terrific pace. No sooner are they in Southampton port offloading American computers that were made in China than they are filled to the brim with Japanese motorcycles made in Sunderland that are destined for Sweden. Sorting it all out is an incredible headache because all these goodies are locked inside identical containers. It's enough to get your Taiwanese knickers in a twist. So, how do they do it?
Our story starts in Hong Kong. The recent explosion of industrial activity in China has turned Hong Kong into one of the most vibrant and thrilling places on Earth and made its docks the busiest. It seems that everything from satellite dishes to cat flaps is made in China these days, and much of it passes through here. It's like the last scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark. There are so many identical boxes here, the likelihood you're ever going to get that patio heater you ordered seems pretty remote. Container ships these days are monstrously huge, up to 400 meters long, weighing over 150,000 tons, carrying more than 11,000 containers. Once it's full to the brim, this ship sets off on its way to distant ports, like Southampton. Southampton is the UK's second busiest container terminal. Every year, almost 1.5 million containers pass through the port. On the quayside here, at any one time, you will find as many as 35,000. And I've arrived just as they're unloading another batch. Container ships, as I'm sure you've noticed before now, are really big. This one weighs a hefty 38,000 tons. They're also really expensive, so the owners like them buzzing about the high seas earning their keep. Likewise, the guys at Southampton need to keep things moving. Britain imports 300 billion quid's worth of whatnots every year and exports 240 billion quid's worth. To get container ships loaded and unloaded at speed takes some pretty impressive machines. And first up are the 13 humongous gantry cranes. These things run on tracks up and down the quayside. Each gantry crane is a towering 68 meters high. That's 1.5 Nelson's columns.
That is seriously big. That is bigger than... When someone tells you how big it is, you think, oh yeah, but then you see it. Look at the size of that. There's a man up there in a glass-bottomed box.
If you fancy driving a gantry crane, you'd better not suffer from vertigo because you spend your whole day looking down through a glass floor.
You're folding in half sort of thing. Your head down all the time.
In normal cranes, the cab is in a fixed position, but here the operator needs to see exactly what's happening directly below him. Even in these high-tech times, operating a gantry crane remains a matter of hand-eye coordination. So the cab hangs down from rails which run along the boom arm of the crane. Directly beneath the cab hangs a clever device called a spreader. It's called a spreader because it can spread out to carry containers of various sizes, up to 16 meters long. At the corner of the spreader are 4 flippers. These help to ease the spreader into the correct position. The container is then locked on, and off it goes. To release the container, the flippers lift up, the locks turn, and the spreader comes away. These giant ship-to-shore cranes can lift a staggering 65 tons at a time. So even if you've stuffed your container with pianos and gold bars, these fellas will make light work of it. The trouble is, one container looks very much like another, so it's only too easy to mistake the nutcrackers from Nanking for the ladies' delicates just in from Lahore. The man charged with keeping track of it all is Nigel Pern.
Hello, Nigel. Hi.
Hello,
Robert. Hi. Nice to meet you. Yeah.
In the old days, they used post-it stickers and crayons. These days, of course, it's a fancy-pants computer that has no feelings and never makes a mistake. The result is that Southampton Dock can now shuffle 4,000 containers a day.
It's a vast thing.
It is. It's huge. It is.
When you think
absolutely
that
huge,
cargo used to come in and be offloaded for days.
Yeah.
And we offload a ship in 24 hours.
Is that how long it takes you to take?
With
Wow.
stuff that was probably would take a week or more to offload under the normal methods.
So none of the ships stay here that long?
No,
they're in and out.
they're
pretty
in and
quick.
out.
But pulling the containers off the ships is just the start. The real workhorses of Southampton docks are these remarkable machines. They're called straddle carriers, though they look more like something from War of the Worlds. And to my delight, Nigel says I can have a ride in one.
Well, that's the sushi and the Panama hats offloaded, so join me in a couple of minutes when we'll be shifting the other, let me see, a few thousand containers.
Coming up, the town dedicated to keeping the world's egg off its chin, the secret of how they make zips. But first,
The docks are an incredible place. Goodies arrive here by the container load 24 hours a day from all corners of the globe. Now, although the giant cranes which dominate the skyline get all the glory, the machines that do most of the legwork are these rather peculiar straddle carriers.
without them, the containers would quickly pile up on the quayside. They're straight out of wacky races. They're like beefed up Hummers on stilts. At Southampton, they have a fleet of more than 100 of these strange creatures, constantly scuttling to and fro, picking stuff up and dropping stuff off.
Hi there. Hi. Nice to meet you. Can I have a ride in your straddle carrier?
Yeah, no problem.
Is that all right? So I've got to climb up there, have I?
Yep, you have, yep, I'm afraid.
Is there a bit of room for me to squeeze in next to you?
Yeah, there's plenty of room
All right.
up there, yep.
Shall I get up there then? How'd you do it? Just climb up?
Just climb.
Driving along in a hire van, you feel high up. But imagine driving along with your seat 10 metres off the ground.
Okay. Oh, and this whole thing moves along. I can't believe it.
They need to be so tall to stack the containers 3 high. Even the biggest ships have to be turned around in a few hours, so straddle carrier drivers like Mike Eels can't afford to bring the wrong container to the party. The control room radios Mike the registration number of the container he's to pick up, and he enters the details on his computer. It tells him where to find it. Then Mike's off. It's a bit like riding a giant crab, because the straddle carrier moves sideways.
Well, that's the most peculiar part at the moment, is that you're sitting sideways. Can't even work it out, because we're not really going forwards or backwards, is it?
That's the
moving.
hardest thing to get used to, is the opposite steering.
Yeah.
It just feels unnatural to be sat sideways.
Yeah.
You might think that these monsters would be about as fast as a milk float, but in fact they will happily whiz along at 30 kilometres an hour. In theory, you could do the school run in one of these, especially handy if you've got very obese children.
It's actually, to be honest, a lot less alarming with it moving than I expected. It's brilliant. It's such fun.
With these things, there's never a problem finding a parking space. You just lift stuff out of the way, and traffic wardens can't reach high enough to give you a ticket. Once Mike has his container in his sights, he drops the lifting gear, and the twist locks engage with the 4 corner castings.
Oh, spot on. No adjustment. Well done. Bloody hell.
Then it's up and off. Soon this container will be loaded onto a lorry or train, which will take all the goodies first to a warehouse and then to the shops. From up here you can really see how the dock works. It's not just the scale and smoothness of the operation that impresses. It's not just the fantastic giant machines. It's also the strange, exhilarating feeling that the whole world is here, neatly packed in tin boxes.
Oh, that's just brilliant. I have never had that experience before, where it starts off abject terror, really scary up there. As soon as it started moving, it was brilliant.
I wonder if they'll lend me one to get home. I hear the traffic's a bit sticky on the A34.